Welcome to Business Prowess with Rafael and Dr. Andrea. Our show will bring you the best insights, ideas, and inspiration from successful entrepreneurs and CEOs in the business world. Don't miss out on the opportunity to learn from the best and stay ahead of the game. Sifu Rafael is the founder of 5 unique shows. He's a fitness professional, solutions expert, executive coach, and head instructor at Max Martial Arts and Fitness in New York. Dr. Andrea Adams-Miller is an award-winning international keynote speaker, best-selling author, and CEO of the Red Carpet Connection Publicity, Publishing, and Talent Agency, and CEO of IgniteYourRelationship.com. Known as the Dream Maker, she makes visionaries' dreams come true, bigger than they ever dare to desire.
Dr. Andrea, happy Friday. How are you today?
I am absolutely lovely. I'm in my last week of James and the Giant Peach, hence my curly, crazy hair. I had it still pin curled from my crazy hair that I have for that horrible curmudgeon of a woman that I play. And so, but it's so our last weekend, we opened last night and we end on Sunday. So it's just full of joy. It's just the best thing to do is to be in a musical.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, today, what a pleasant day. We have 2 exceptional people coming on. One is I love the way she speaks. So Penny, come on down. And Samuel, thank you for joining us, my friend.
Hey, good morning.
What an incredible day we're about to have right now because you're both here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Penny, I received your book, and it is quite a thick book, at least 300 pages, which, as we were talking earlier, I always read every book I get cover to cover, and yours is on my list. What could you tell us was the inspiration to create the operations manual for your franchises?
The inspiration was very simple. Today, nobody reads dull text heavy operations manuals. You know, they just lie on the shelf gathering dust. And if you're under 40, you're tech savvy, you watch YouTube. If you're under 30 and you're Generation Z, you are a digital native. Digital natives will not read anything that takes more than 2 minutes. So it got me thinking, how could I produce a dynamic manual that everybody can play a part in? And that led me to write the book.
That's great. That's great. Samuel, just so you know, sometimes when you move, there's 2 of you.
Oh, yeah, there's one behind me, look.
Yeah. I'm like, how did you clone yourself? That's incredible.
I have myself in my background.
I see that. I see that. So today we're talking about building resilience and redefining success, a journey through transformation. So thank you both for being here. And I think this is going to be a great topic. How do we build resilience? What does it take for someone to go ahead and build resilience in business?
I think it starts with the personal side. And I think it's how you react to what's going around you. And when you start in business, you start that journey of resilience. Because life isn't linear. Curved balls are thrown at you and you have to react. You have to either run with that ball, do or die.
Agreed, 100%.
That's great. Yeah.
Who was it said, if you're going to be dumb, then you got to be tough. And when you first start out in business, even though you think you know a lot, you're pretty dumb. And if you're going to continue in business, you got to get tough. And that's where resilience comes from. It comes from making the mistakes in the beginning and understanding that, hey, if I want to do this, I'm going to make some mistakes. And if I'm going to get where I'm going, then I just got to keep on making them. So, yeah, it starts
Well,
at the beginning.
I like that quote. I guess I'm making it a quote for you. Like, I like to use the word "dumb" in things just because I think it's fun. Because one of the things that I say is, the smarter I get, the dumber I feel, and that's because we realize what we don't know, and then when you become aware of what you don't know, then it can make you feel dumb in the world, even though you may be smarter than ever.
It's actually a song. I'm trying to think who it's by, but no, it's a song. If you're going to be dumb, then you got to be tough. Roger Allen Wade. So,
I'm looking it up.
Wade.
And I think the other thing is that when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
But we can't stay dumb forever, right? So we have to wise up. It's not just about getting tough, because you can get as tough as you want, but if you're still being dumb, it's not going to work out for you either.
Some challenges there.
There are some people that are happy to operate at the limits of their cognitive capacity. It's all right. The world needs those guys too. They can be successful.
I think one of the aspects is that you keep on learning. You have a love for learning. I don't think I ever really had a love for learning at school, but when I set my sights on becoming a journalist, that's when I really started to learn about life, learn about business, because I interviewed loads of top businessmen. I was known for my front cover stories. In the Middle East, I was interviewing ministers, merchants, and members of ruling families. And I learned about different cultures. I learned about different methods of working. I learned about life. University of life. Can't beat it.
Okay.
It's
very interesting.
Said that. Sam, well, share about what you're talking about, and then I will tap on top of that.
So it's very interesting when we actually learn from someone else who's done it. And I think that's a great way of learning, because this is why I love coaching so much, because it's somebody who's already gone through the gambit, if you will, and they can help you or guide you or even give you advice on how to do it better, because they went through the mistakes. They made all the dumb errors, right? And so they say, well, do it this way, not that way. And then the other thing, I believe that for us to learn even more is to continually ask, why did you do it that way, right?
This is the whole premise of franchising. The franchisor has made all the mistakes, and the franchisee doesn't want to go it alone, wants something that is successful, and learns with the support of the franchisor. So that's why I really, really love what I've been doing for the last 35 years, because we are making a difference. We're making a real difference for people who want to work for themselves, but not by themselves.
I love that. And what you just said made me recap what I wanted to circle around to. I was having a conversation with somebody this morning, and he was talking about how he originally had a coach that was giving him business tips. And then he realized his business coach was giving him tips out of a book. And then he said, "Do you own a business?" And she said, "No." And he was like, "Wow, I'm learning how to run a business by somebody who doesn't own a business." And at the same time, but at the very same time, like if you go to an oncologist or, a brain surgeon, they don't have to have had brain surgery in order to do brain surgery on you. They don't have to have had cancer to be really good at providing cancer. Or treatment, I should say. And, the same thing is, there are people who are really good at training other people to do things that they are themselves not doing. And at the same time, that's why I think people having multiple coaches is important, just as long as everybody works in tandem, because there are people who maybe aren't doing it that can help you. And then the people who have done it have a different view because they have had that experience and wisdom of having it, have gone through it. So you, Samuel, you're small business surgeon. So I referenced medical, but so let's talk about the surgery you do in small business.
Well, like I like to say, the small business surgeon brand, it came about by accident, but it's a very good metaphor because, like, if you've got a car that's broken down, you need to lift the hood up and rummage around inside. Well, with the business, we ask them where it hurts, and then we cut it open. It's a very good metaphor. When you peel back the skin of a company and look at its operations and look at its systems and processes and see how everything works, it's a lot easier to start fixing things. So that's where the surgery comes from. The main thing I do with folks is websites and digital infrastructure and teaching them how to use it. Because like Penny alluded to earlier, there's a whole generation of folks that kind of they don't even delegate the responsibility of their online stuff. They abdicate from it. They just walk away. And I was born in 1980, and so I've got one foot in the phone firmly on the wall crew, and the other foot in the iPhone crew. And I just happen to be some kind of business whisperer that sits in between and sorts them out. But what I found from coaching, and again, it came around unintentionally. Most of what I do is accountability. It's teaching the business owners that they have to show up every day. It's teaching them they've got to do the uncomfortable stuff that they don't like to do. And they've got to train somebody to do the things that are lower end tasks. And they've got to focus on the higher dollar per hour tasks. And man, it's you think it's all systems, processes, websites, and leads. And that's just a tiny part of it. The majority of it is the psychology behind the business owner and why they're going to work every day. So,
I'd love for both of you to, in the private chat, go ahead and put whatever link you want us to share across the screen.
Oh yeah,
Penny, I gotta say to you, the fact that you sat down with these individuals and you were able to ask them the questions that help guide you in your learning. Were you? That's my camera. Sorry about that. Were you taking lots of notes and then going back to reference them to see what value was in the conversations that you had with them?
Absolutely. I am an inveterate note taker. I have books and books and books of notes that I've taken over the years. And I mean, one of the good things about being a journalist is that what you research and the interviews that you have, you learn because they come out in print. And so you've got a hard copy of everything you've done. Now, as a journalist, that is kind of fleeting because you're there 1 week or 1 month and then nobody picks up the magazine again. But when you're writing an operations manual, you are learning about somebody's business, not just who the person is who runs the business, as I did as a journalist, but now how that business works. You pull it apart. You then reconstruct a blueprint of the business system so that you can see intimately how that business works and what, if anything, might need to be tweaked, as Sam would obviously understand very, very well, what can be tweaked to make it even better so that the franchisees benefit all around.
Nice. Makes a
What
lot
I
of
love
sense.
about the idea of franchise is that, they really come up with a business system and then they just model it, and then the people can put their own nuances to it, but there's a core there for them. So that whole idea of business in a box, my personal thought is it came from the franchise business. I don't know that for sure, but I'm going to take credit that that's what it's for.
And the other major thing you're going to get is not only coaching and accountability from the top level franchise itself. I don't know the correct term for that, the franchisor itself, but you're also going to get the network of other franchise owners that you can be like, hey guys, this isn't quite working for me. What did you all do differently? And what have you got that I can copy? And they'll all pull in the same direction and help you out. So there's a lot of value to that, and so much value to the accountability side of it.
I think one of the things that's really important is to incentivize the teams towards continuous improvement.
Mm-hmm.
So that every year at, let's say, the franchisors conference, you have the person who made the best contribution to improving engagement, reducing incidents, accidents, wastage, and improving employee retention.
Years ago,
that's super critical.
I participated in a book called, I think it was called Retention, Engagement, and Growth, or something like that. And this would have been, gosh, maybe 15 years ago. And I haven't re-looked at the numbers, but at the numbers then, I wrote a chapter talking about how when somebody leaves the company, what the cost is of replacing that person.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm assuming that, like, at the time, it took an average income and then said, just to fill in for a short period of time was something like $143,000. And to me now, I think, oh, that's got to be like triple, because the people who are already there now have to fill in for that person. They also have to train someone, find someone, and then while that person's there, help them do the work. And then the satisfaction and happiness of everybody else goes down because they're doing all this work. And then often there's some kind of like disgruntled kind of emotion that comes up because the new person is probably paid higher than what they started out as. And so they're like, oh my gosh, I'm teaching them. They know nothing and they make more than what I started at. So it just creates this whole... So it's sometimes better to look at what you have and think, what can we fix and what can we make better and help this person to become higher and what they're doing, or get more excited about the company rather than to let them go. And at the same time, if you keep somebody and they continue to be that obsolete, nail in the wheel, then it causes the same problem. So then you're better off letting them go. So I guess that's where we need to do surgery, Samuel, and cut the tire.
I live in a college market. We have a very, very transient labor force, both student age and adults. People come here for short term and medium term reasons. And so, if we can get 18 months out of employees in the local brick and mortars, we consider 18 months a very good result. And we're constantly working on a funnel of inbound potentials so that when we have to replace people, they're very easily replaced. It's I think the days are long gone of expecting employees to last years and years and years in businesses. And I think we've got to provide an outlet for them to achieve their dreams and their goals. And we've got to expect that in today's society, anybody that's reasonably sharp can break out of the employee mold and go self-employed relatively quickly. And so I think as employers, we have to look at it as maybe we have a duty to these folks to shepherd them and to guide them and to develop them. And in 2 years' time, off they go and they spread their wings and they fly off, Like, especially the franchise model lends itself to that.
Yes, it certainly does. But I do think I read the other day that this year 30% of the global workforce will be under 30, which is a staggering amount when you think.
I feel old.
and up to 5 generations can be found in one workplace.
Mm.
And they all have different learning styles, needs, etc. But young people tend to choose their employers rather than the employers choosing the employees these days, because they want to align with the employer's values. They want to feel valued. They want to make a contribution and feel that contribution is making a dent.
Yeah, completely agree.
When it comes down to, as Samuel, as you talked about, you helped them along, and 2 years later they're flying off. Now, that sounds very costly for a company if they're investing in that person,
Correct.
because right, if I'm going to say, well, I need to train this person and it's going to cost, I don't know, $100,000, and I spent this money on them, and then they're gone, and now guess what? I have to spend another $100,000 on the next person. So I think the value is to ask, what are your plans?
Well,
What are your
you
plans
get
in 2 years? What are your
right.
plans in
Yeah.
4 years? So that we can invest in the right people right off the bat, and say, hey, you know what? We do have transitional positions for you guys. But the ones that are going to stick around, that because their values are here, they want to build a family, they have everything set up, then those are the people that we need to invest more into.
Correct.
And the other ones, it's okay if they're going to come through, but maybe we don't invest as much.
Right. And especially in a transient marketplace. So 20% of your staff are going to be there forever. Like, they're going to ride or die with you, but 80% of them are going to cycle through.
Correct.
And, you know, the way around it is to systematize training as much as possible, and have them come in to already be pre-plugged into the positions, have somebody come in that knows a little bit about what they're doing, and then have standardized company training that you've put together. I mean, it costs a fortune to replace staff, right? But you've got to look at the market conditions and say, here's where I'm at, and here's what the average turnover is. I think the average turnover here is 10 or 11 months for brick and mortar stores, for retail guys trying to keep folks in. And so automating and systematizing the training is critical.
Absolutely. And you need a single source of truth, which you can't get in a text-heavy manual. What you need is bite-sized video.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what I do in my businesses. Yep.
Yeah. That's what we do. I build everything out into little modules and little courses, and then they can get to the next one once they unlock the one with the quiz, and it's all included in the CRM software that we use. So they got their own login and training boxes and everything.
Yeah, I do it
That's
slightly.
the critical part. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do it slightly differently, because now what we're trying to do is to engage the teams to build a manual for them, by them, so that they have ownership, they have empowerment, and that makes the job of training them a lot easier. So it's a knowledge sharing platform. So instead of calling it an operations manual, we call it a knowledge sharing environment. Get the teams to create the videos on their smartphones, little snippets of a procedure, upload, caption, can be turned into any language. It can be audio, it can be visual, depending on the type of learner you are. And that's turned into QR codes placed at the point of need, immediately when needed. So if you're a barista and you've only just learned how to strip down the coffee machine at the end of the day, but you're not quite sure of all the steps, you just take your smartphone, capture the QR code, there it is, choose the language of preference, and then go step by step. You can go at your own pace and do it properly, as everyone in the network will do exactly the same.
That's using technology at its best, right? Because 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have that availability.
Yeah,
right?
but
So we maybe sit in front of a VCR.
no, you wouldn't though.
You know?
Like, you've got to ask at what point. Like, I love that, what you've done, Penny. I love it. I think it's wonderful. And I've done it, not in that sense, but we've done the QR code landers for restaurants and like, but at what point is there a diminishing return on investment from a kid standing there and scanning the QR code, just going, "Oi, Gary, help me clean this machine, mate. Remind me how it works." Right? You see? And so, like, at what point do you get to like a diminishing point of return with there's a QR code for how to turn off the taps?
I think I turn it round the other way and say, if you're going to produce a dull text heavy manual, let me give you an example. Somebody came to see me a couple of months ago and said, we want to upgrade our manual. It's wildly out of date. We've got 800 and something pages and we want to update the text. And I said, well, what's the profile of your franchisees? And they had about 150 of them. They said, oh, well, the franchisees is about 40, 45, and their teams are probably between 29 and 35. And I said, well, they won't read it. So all the money you spend, and it can be, let's say, $50,000, that money will be lost. Nobody will read it. So what are you going to do? Are you going to have bite-sized video? Are you going, I recommend that you do it this way. And they completely fell to pieces on it because it's not traditional. We have totally ingrained, obviously, because that's the only way we've been able to do it up until now, something that is just text-based for a manual. I got something the other day. I bought a toothbrush, electric toothbrush. And I thought, this is great, until I opened up this amazing diagram that I just could not get my head round. And then I had to connect it to Bluetooth on my phone. And I thought, well, isn't this a step too far? And I ended up by doing a sort of spoof on LinkedIn, which ended up by being very funny. But practically, that was not my way of learning. I wanted something that was text. I'm very obviously a baby boomer. But my YouTube, if I want to do something technical, change the light bulb in the oven or something like that. Where do I go? I go to YouTube.
I'd like to address this. Can you guys hear me okay, by the way? I noticed speaking of technology, my phone keeps deciding that it is going to be the speaker or the microphone for this, even though I never set that up. And so it's very annoying. So I don't mind there being videos. I like to learn multiple ways. So I want to be able to see it, but I speed read. I want to get to the point. I don't want to know history and background until after the fact. I just want to get to the point. And with videos, if I can't watch them at 2 times and fast forward to what I'm getting to, drives me freaking nuts. Because I take my information soon. I already have an understanding. And if I have to hear, hello, welcome to, get me through that. I don't even want greeted. I want to the point. But I learn the best by somebody doing it in front of me. And then I'm like, oh, and then I can jump in and do it. So I think I'm addressing what you're talking about, Samuel. If I'm along beside someone and and they let me do it right away, I can get my hands on it and touch it. That's where I learned. So I think part of this QR code, idea and the books and the manuals and the images, I think we need to give people access to all of those so they learn best the way they learn and can accommodate and fix that. And yes, I get it. An SOP probably should have the hello and then go and have the whole ending thing. But they drive me nuts. So
we don't.
Let me tell you that in my business, one of my businesses, I have a manual. And when I first brought that manual, oh my God, 25 years ago, probably, excuse me. And what wound up happening is when I gave it to all my employees, they all kind of looked at it and they're like, that's very thick, isn't it? I'm like, yeah. And I need you to go through it. And they're like, okay. Nobody went through it. So what wound up happening is I had to go through the manual and say, okay, let's review this and go through step by step. They preferred that because now there was actual hands-on. So a lot of people like the hands-on, like Samuel was talking about. The QR code, I love the idea, because if somebody is alone, for example, in my wood shop, and they have to do something, they can actually say, well, there's nobody here. How do I solve this? Instead of waiting around twiddling their thumbs. And do I want them going on a YouTube video that's going to show them the wrong way to do it? No, not at all. I love the fact that you are having people who are in the trenches creating the videos, because somebody from an outsider, even if you're a manager of this process and you did it 10 years ago, things have changed. We need to adapt, and the people who can adapt the best are the ones in the trenches. So we should be learning from them. The videos they make are going to be so much faster. And Dr. Andrea is going to go, I appreciate the videos from the people in the trenches than from corporate. Right? So it's a huge difference.
Yeah, top down no longer works.
No.
Peer-to-peer engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're only just learning that over in the UK. We always take our lead from you.
Andrea, you're muted. She's trying to talk.
I realized I muted myself. I was saying that one of the things I thought does work once in a while, though, is when the higher ups get back down into the trenches, and then the employees can see that they stumble and are human as well. I don't remember what the TV show was, but where the bosses would hide and put on makeup and wigs and then go in and work in the company. And I thought that was amazing, especially when they really were connecting with people, and then later when they got to see that the people really cared about the company and wanted them to care, and they did care about the employees, because I think people do want to be seen and heard. And I think when we can give them a voice in a company where they're excited about being a part of it and they want it to succeed, so it's not a job, it's a part of who they are. And I don't know if that's learned or if we can motivate people to that, or if it's inherent. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I mean, I love I think it's called the undercover boss.
Yeah, something like that.
Which I absolutely loved, and some of the companies I knew. But yeah, I think this has to be learned. It's not I think it's not something that comes easily to be able to go down into the trenches once you're up there. You have to be a very, very special kind of person to be able to identify with all the levels of a big business, a multinational.
Well, that's why franchising is so incredible, because sometimes in order to be part of a franchise, you have to do everything from every aspect, right? In order to understand the business, to make sure that it's gonna work out. So that in case, listen, if you have 30 employees and every one of them is critical to the operation, and you're there just pointing fingers, you go do this, you go do that, but 3 people are out. Now, how's your operation going to work? Maybe you have to step in. So you have to know those functions.
That's
right.
When I create a manual, I have to visualize every aspect of the business to see whether I can carry that procedure out, work that system. If I can't, it doesn't work.
One of the things that I do with my staff when I'm training them or going through it, I do it myself. And one of the things that I get from them, some pushback, they're like, we can't do it as good as you. And I'm like, well, I've been doing it longer. But my goal is for me not to be able to do it as good as you. So let's keep going, because I'm here to help you develop so that you can teach other people. Because if I can only teach you and it stops there, We're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to replace yourself. What do you mean replace myself? I'm not firing you. I want you to go higher in the company. So I want you to replace yourself, because now you have to teach your job to someone else so that you can fulfill a new job. And that other person who's going to teach you their job, they're replacing themselves too. So I think that's one of the most important aspects of helping people understand that there is growth in the company.
And they are a big part of it.
Yeah, they got to have a reason to show up. They got to have a dream too. Like, and you've got to fit their dreams inside of your business. That's part of the game.
That's it.
But again, I think it takes a very special boss to do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why most businesses fail, right?
Yeah.
It's not the easiest path you could choose. That's for sure.
You guys have
But
brought
it's
up
so much worth it.
Oh,
brought
totally.
up something for me that's got me intrigued. So I often will have my clients, well, I don't know why I say often, always have my clients kind of create a curriculum vitae of their whole life. Everything they know, they do, they've seen, they've read, they've traveled to, they've, been a part of, spoke on. So that way we have a full composite of what their capabilities and knowledge are. However, one of the things that I have never had them do specifically that I'm interested in now is having them literally write down what would it take to be them. And this epiphany came for me, it obviously came from this today, you guys talking, but it was already seeded because I had I had 5 surgeries in 11 weeks. I had colorectal cancer. I'm cancer free now. But at the last 2 surgeries were on the same day, and they were major. Part of my colon was removed, and total radical hysterectomy at the same time. So big deal. And when I came out of that, I didn't have the energy or the forewithal to even talk like this. I wondered, would I ever get that back? I mean, there was a part of me where like, oh my gosh, it's too much energy to be me. I can't do this. I can't be me. And luckily I'm back. I'm fine. I got more energy than ever. I'm doing great. But that fear of, or in that moment, like, how do I be me? How do I show other people to be? How do I replace me? It just dawned on me with you guys talking. I never have ever thought about that. Like, what would it take for someone to be me, to want to do what I do, to take what I'm doing? So it's even beyond SOPs. It's about how I show up and how I live and how I present and how I communicate and how I care about people. Those skills often aren't covered in an SOP. And I think maybe that's something that, well, maybe I'll just be the person to start that.
Love it.
Well,
Actually, I had somebody that I was training, and I said to them, how would you like to get a sneak peek into what I do every day? They were like, great, this is thrilling. I can't wait. I said, okay, I'm usually up around 4:30. You'll be there? They're like, can we do 5? I'm like, okay, 5. And they drove with me everywhere, and they were like, you don't listen to the radio, you listen to podcasts, you listen to informational things. When do you listen to music? I said, oh, I listen to music at this time and that. But this was the middle of the day. And then I showed them that there is fun. It's not just work. There is certain aspects of my life that are super enjoyable, because I need to be filled with those as well. So they got a tiny glimpse as to what I do in my day. But they didn't get the full glimpse because I don't go to sleep that early either. Sometimes it's 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. And they're like, when are you going to go to sleep? I said, eventually, when I'm ready, when my body says go. And so a lot of times we can't really have somebody be us. There's only one of us. The thing is, how do we help them become the best versions of them I don't want mini-me's running around, right? Because the world would be crazy if that happened. I just want people to be the best versions of themselves. And maybe if they get a chance to see how we are the best versions of ourselves, they'll get an idea and they'll go, I like this part, hate this part, want to do this part, so they can choose how they're going to live their own lives. So I just thought I'd share that with you.
Well, you got to like lead by example. You know, you've got to be somebody that people can look up to and go, hey, you know what, this guy's got his shit together, and I'm proud I work for him. You know, you've got to be, and you can't be showing up hungover and unshaven, and you know, you've got to lead from the front, lead by example. But one of my, I guess you could call it SOPs. It's one of my trainings I put my employees and my subcontractors through is the I am statement training. And I've written about a 20-minute video about, you know, defining who you are and defining who you want to be and programming your own mind as this is who I am and this is how I operate. And so I do put everyone through that just as part of helping them to understand this is what I want to become. This is what I'm working towards. And this is why I'm showing up every day. You know, I think it's important that employees have that.
Absolutely. I think we also need to change what we do sometimes in order to keep not only active with the changing times, but we can't keep running on that the SOP that used to work. Right. So it's a daily, I don't want to call it a grind, but it's a daily growth that we need to look at. How can we make what we did yesterday better today? So every day it's that chance to grow, but you can't do it by yourself, right? If you're running a company, sometimes you have to give the freedom for the employees to be able to say, can we do it this way? And give them the free range to be able to try things. And sometimes it's okay if they fail too, and let them know it's okay to fail.
They'll always find the path of least resistance. So yeah, and if they're doing the work every day, you should trust that path. You know, but they will always look for the path of least resistance, and they'll often find it better than you. So.
All right, you guys have me motivated. I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to do something about the SOPs of leaders' personality, how they play, their ethics, their values. What is the SOP of, well, I'll start with myself, and I'll use myself as the guinea pig. And then we'll start looking at this, because I think this is quite amazing. Because, you know, when I hear how Sifu, you know, I know Sifu enough to know that being around in his space, that if you followed him, that you would be probably, most people would be exhausted. and because he does a lot. I've had people follow me who've come out of town, and they do what I do and go where I am. And actually, it was funny. My friend Gary Barnes, he came into it, and he's like, holy cow, Andrea, it was like 10 at night and we were going to go do another thing. And he's like, we've been nonstop since 8 this morning. When do we stop? And I'm like, oh, we got one more thing, and then we got to go home and follow up. And then, you know, he was like, holy cow. And so I'm interested in, you know, Penny and Samuel's lives. I think this would be fun. What a fun reality show to just follow people in their real lives who are doing really cool things and find out how they really live. How do they operate? What is your standard operating procedure for life?
Well, not to hijack the show, but I post a video every day on Facebook, TikTok, Clapper, Instagram. You can watch what I do. You know, we spend a lot of money advertising that, hey, I'm a coach, let me coach you, and all that other stuff. But in reality, there's no better advert than just showing people, hey, I'm doing this today, and this is how I make money. Like, and they can either join in and come and get some coaching, or they can watch, or they can change the channel. But, you know, there's a lot to be said for just, here's what I'm up to today. That's why I was taking pictures of you all earlier with my phone. It's so that tomorrow this will be a social media. This will be a clip in a video on social media. It's that's how I generate my business. You know.
Well, that
Well, it's come to that time that we're actually, Penny, I'm going to let you go, and then we're going to wrap it up. And then after Penny goes, Penny, I'm going to get, after you go, I'm going to give you 30, 45 seconds to tell people about what they can expect when they reach out to you. And then I'll do the same with you, Samuel and Dr. So go for it. Penny, you're up. You can answer and then tell us.
Yeah, you were in thought, Penny. Please finish your thought.
Yes.
Right. My thoughts are that if you need to create a knowledge sharing environment, get in touch, and you find me either on LinkedIn or you can go to Linktree, Penny Hopkinson, where I have all my assets there. So if you want to look at the podcast, look at this, which will be on the podcast carousel. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I always offer a free, no obligation strategy call or just a little coffee, share a virtual coffee and sit down and have a chat.
Love it.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Well, I'm going to do that. I sent you a friend request on LinkedIn, but not many people know this, but you sound a lot like my mum. So I've really enjoyed listening to you today.
Please don't say that your mum is 80 or 90.
No, she might be a year or two older than you, but you probably went to very similar schools. You've got a very similar way that you make words. So yeah, and it's been a pleasure listening to you. I've been in Texas for 25 years, so my voice has changed a little bit. And Sifu, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Thank you both very much. And it's been terrific to meet you, Sam.
Oh, I'm going to meet you more. We're going to have coffee. Like I like you.
Love it.
Yeah, I like you. And so you can find me at followsam.live. All my stuff is there. The podcast, the all the channels, the website, anything. And my main gig as small business surgeon is websites and customer retention management systems for folks. So if that's something that excites you, please just drop by.
Love it.
Love it. Thank you, Samuel.
Thank you, guys.
Dr. Andrea.
Yeah, Dr. Andrea Adams-Miller. I am the CEO of the Red Carpet Connection. And what's been really wonderful is my clients have elevated me. I always refer to myself as a publicist, and they're like, yeah, you're not doing that anymore. So they have designated me as Chief Visionary and Strategic Influence Officer. So I'm like, I'm a Civicio. And what that means is I help people be seen and heard by the right people in the right time and understood, so that they can show up the way that they want to show up and attract those people who want to work with them to the highest success they ever could imagine. So I love what I do. It's a lot of fun. So if you have any interest, and we do that with publicity and mind mastery and multiple other tools. I'm one of those people who just love learning, and there's just something new every day. And Sifu, let's hear all about the redcarpetconnection.com. You can reach me through Andrea Adams-Miller on all social medias. And Sifu, people want to know more about you.
Do they? Do they really? Definitely. It's easy. My email is sifu@speakingprowess.com. My website is Speaking Prowess. I can't make it any easier for you. One of the things that has always inspired me is communication. And how do we communicate at a higher level? And that's what Speaking Prowess is about. So reach out if you need to understand that we may be leaving money on the table because of the communication skills we lack or need. So thank you, everybody. What an incredible show today. Thank you both for being here. Dr. Andres, what a pleasure to always have you as my co-host. It's incredible times. Everybody, have yourself an exceptional show. Yes, thank you both. And do me a favor, share the show, like it, send it to a friend, somebody who needs to meet these two individuals. Samuel, what a powerhouse. Penny, wow. And I said in the beginning that I love listening to when you speak. So thank you for that. And so does Samuel.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah,
We
when
all
you
do.
share it, tag us, because Sifu and I will comment on it, and then you have more engagement.
It's all about engagement.
We love being mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful. All
Hey,
right.
stick
All right,
around.
thanks
We're going to
so
say
much for
goodbye
coming.
to everybody. We'll see you soon. Take care.
All right. We'll see you.